Hello, and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I am Alicia.
And I'm Shariann.
So, we're going to start with our PESH check in to get grounded. Shariann, will you go first?
Okay. Yes. All right. Physically, I'm a 4.25. Emotionally, 4.25. Spirit, 4.5. Hope, 4.6. And my word is opening.
Okay, my
And
turn.
you?
um, Physically, I am 4.5, emotionally, a 4.3, spiritually, a 4, and hope is a 4.15, and my word is slowing down. I feel like I've used that one recently. I don't know if it was on the podcast or somewhere else, but I feel like I've used it, but it's still feeling true. So, sticking with it.
Okay. Well, if it's true, then that's what it is. And
Yes.
interestingly, we don't really spend a lot of time explaining our past. That's for us to ground in this moment. So that word is yours. Ah.
Yes. So today we are talking about recognizing cancer's impact on our lives as people who are going through a cancer journey. Again, that can be as a patient, thriver, survivor, or caregiver. Cancer touches so many lives, and so to recognize how it is sitting with us. How it is influencing our lives and the choices that we make, and even how it's influencing or how we're allowing it to influence the person we're becoming.
The first thing that comes up for me was what my first oncologist said to me when I was diagnosed, and he said, "So just think of this as a detour." And and actually, in retrospect, now after five cancers and a zillion years later. Actually, I think it's over 20 years since my first diagnosis. Over
Mhm.
20 years. Wow. I can see how it is a detour, right? Because we're going off along in our life, our everyday life, and then all of a sudden this comes in the way. So kind of like this ginormous pothole or sinkhole, and it's like, oh, can't go in that direction. I need to go in a different direction. And you get not even shepherd over it. It's like you can't go that way anymore. You're now going this way, which is why we really stick with that whole journey concept. But what I think is in the bigger picture is that it's a pause. We're so much about the pause, and then this shakeup. I'm going to use the phrase a lot of people use during the cancer journey is a wake up call, and it's a wake up call not just for the patient, thriver, survivor, but also the caregiver.
Yeah. Yeah, I love I agree and I disagree with the idea of a detour, right? Because to me, when you're taking a detour, um you're still going to the same end point. I don't necessarily think, though, that cancer will always lead you to that same end point. Perhaps the same desire of what you want to feel at the end. I think that's a form of function question at the end. But what I do agree with detour, and this actually has like a thought that I've had a lot recently about detours, because there's a road I take to one of the jobs I work, and there's a lot of construction going on, so there's a lot of detours. Um, Before the detour, you know this route. I can do this route sleepy in the morning without thinking hard. I can go faster than I should be going. I It becomes kind of mindless, right? And kind of so second nature that you feel accustomed to this route. And so when there's a detour, but you don't know what that route looks like or where it's going to take you necessarily, it becomes really scary, because oftentimes it's not like it prepares you for a detour and tells you exactly where to go to get back onto the path that you were on. It just tells you detour. This part's closed. Good luck. Go find another way. And I mean, for this literal example, we are very blessed to have GPS now. Um, but there is no GPS on how to navigate cancer. There,
Right.
there's no system like that, except for us at the Cancer Journey Institute, where we do help you find your way again, because there is no clear answer when you're navigating life. You hit the roadblock of cancer, and now you're going alongside it, trying to follow it, but it's not telling you where to go because there is no one way to be experiencing cancer and go through a cancer journey. So when you're working with a cancer journey coach, it's like, okay, I've hit this detour. I don't know what to do. I need someone to guide me. I am frankly lost, and I don't know what I'm going to experience or if I'm really ever going to find my way out. And so there's a lot of hopelessness in that space too. So when you work with a cancer journey coach, you start to better understand that you're not alone in this and that you're so much more resourced than you think. You don't only know the path home. You know so many more paths around. You are so much smarter and more creative and resourceful and whole, like we like to say, than you think you are.
Right. And I love that you used the word home, because really what we're all trying to get to is home. And that home is us. So who is the real us? What do we really want? I mean, we're taking this in the big context here. It's not like I'm going from point A to point B, which in life, that's what we do. And I really love the part where you said, I know it so well that I could do it in my sleep, but also, or being sleepy, but also how fast we go. And that takes us out of our consciousness. And I think that, no, not going to say that. I believe that these situations like cancer is there to stop us in service of us moving so fast and maybe going down a road that has the pothole in it, and it's, or not the pothole, like the sinkhole, and it's just not right, and we're going, wait a minute, this is how I always do it, this is how I'm going to do it in my speedy fashion. But no, it's like, whoa, 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 I am conspiring on your behalf. Well, this is a big different perspective, and we're going to find the right path for you. And that's why having a cancer journey coach with you who can help you see, like, what's going on? Where are we going? Is this what we want? Is this how we're feeling? It allows us to slow down and really ask the questions to ourselves. What is it that I want? Do I want to continue down this path to where I thought that I wanted to go? Or is there a new destination? Because one thing we know for certain is the cancer journey is a journey of change. And you cannot end up where you were. You're not going to be this. Everyone says, I just want to go back to normal again. It's not circular. It's moving forward. And where you think that you're moving forward to might change because you're going to show up as a different person.
Yeah. Oh, I love the well, I love this metaphor. Didn't realize I would so much. But I love that you picked out the unconsciousness that comes with moving so fast, because that's so easily when people fall into the like, well, I'm gonna take care of everyone else, obviously, and everyone else comes first, and it becomes like so second nature that we don't really like put thought to like putting it back to ourselves, and so we continue to move in this unconscious way of what we're supposed to do, and it becomes we're doing it because it's easy, we're doing it because it's what we know, and we really think, we truly deeply believe that's the best way to get there. And then the other part is that there's a detour on purpose because illness, cancer, whatever it is, has gotten your way because it's deflecting you. Because the route that you thought you were supposed to take actually wouldn't get you there. Like maybe just beyond that detour is that sinkhole. And so it saved you from that sinkhole, which would have been a worse fate. I mean, I'm not saying that experience illness is a positive thing, but it can lead to positive change and positive choices in your life. It doesn't have to take you down completely. It doesn't mean that you're incapable or unintelligent, or anything that a lot of times our negative ego will then tell us that like we're stupid because we made ourselves unhealthy and that it's all our fault. It's not your fault. There are other things at work in life and it's not all your fault and you don't have control over all of that. We say often that like when you're on a cancer journey, you really need to focus especially on what you just have control over, because it doesn't make sense to put energy into something you cannot control. You need to focus on healing and getting back to who you are.
Yes, yes. And I think that I know that we say pause all the time. I'm going to stick with the driving metaphor. There are stop signs along the way. But what happens when somebody gets to a stop sign? Not a stoplight. Stoplight is a full stop. But when we get to stop sign, we sometimes do that slow roll through. And so we don't take a pause to look around and see what's going on. It's like, oh, is it safe? Okay, keep going. And it's that unconsciousness, I think, that starts running our lives into, I got to get this done. I got to move fast. I got to achieve versus, am I doing what I really want? And I know this is really kind of a big concept around the impact of cancer, but what cancer does is it physically takes us down and makes us stop, like that hard stop to figure out what's going on. And while you're stopping and really slowing everything down, you have this, dare I say, luxury of time and space to really take in what's going on. What's happening to me? What do I want? What do I want for my life? And being kind of shot to that front of the line or near the front of the line of your mortality, meaning the end of your mortality. I'm just going to say it out loud, that it's scary. And you go, oh, how, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? Because if it's what I thought was this long is actually this long, I need to pay attention. And that is kind of that wake up call that I'm talking about. That is the impact of what cancer can do, not just for the patients, and especially the thrivers and the survivors who are back into their real new reality, but the caregivers who are watching this and feel powerless to help their beloved, the person that they're caring for, like remove the cancer. They're there for the journey. And so they're on their journey too, which includes them going, okay, this is happening. How do I want to live my life? Is this it's got this reverberating effect, this thing called cancer, to everybody that surrounds you. Even a distant friend who hears, oh my God, so and so just got cancer, and they go, huh, we're mortal. And that mortality comes in and says, you don't have forever. So live now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it so what I'm picturing with our metaphor too is that when we take that detour, we have to slow down to figure out where we're going and figure out how to re-navigate ourselves. We're probably stopping at more stop signs and slowing down and being really conscious of the environment around us, like, okay, I had to turn like west. Now I have to go back north and make sure that you're kind of going in the general direction, but it also gives you this opportunity to take in the surroundings and the environment. Oh, I never saw that shop before. Like, oh, I've never seen that before. You're seeing a completely different environment that you wouldn't, and it gives you also a chance to appreciate it. So that when, if you do start to go through that route that you were in before and following some of those routines again, you're noticing more. You're being more conscientious about the choices you're making. You're not zipping through, you're still stopping somewhere. You're still noticing the things that are around you. Maybe something new opened up that you didn't realize before, but it gives you, it puts you back on the map again. Whereas before cancer, a lot of times we remove ourselves. And I'm not saying that's why people get cancer, but a lot of times when, with the people we've worked with, they worked and worked and worked. They've worked on other people, they've worked at their job, they were doing it all for something outside themselves. And so they even at that time lacked fulfillment. And so now that those are removed as something to almost like project that energy instead of turning inward, they feel even more lost. And so that's why this becomes really important. I do just want to like put us back into what the experience is. Like, what does it feel like to recognize cancer's impact? Because, I mean,
Mm.
this metaphor is great. I love this metaphor. And I think it's really descriptive. And it was really, um, I mean, right now it's really exciting to just have something to kind of lay all of these thoughts onto about this cancer journey that everyone is on. Um, but I think it's really valuable to be with people who don't know how to sit with their recognition of cancer and its impact on their life. I think a lot of times the initial response is like, yeah, it was negative. What do you mean? Like cancer sucks. So, yes, that is definitely a part of the impact, but I want to talk about what it feels like in other ways as well.
Right. Yes. While you're saying that, one of the things that came up for me is as a patient on my treatment journey, there's so many drugs going through your body, and just you don't quite feel yourself. And so there are times, ooh, many times, where you're just not able to do anything. It's you don't have the energy. Let's just start with that. You don't have the energy. So I had this vision of me just kind of sitting there, staring out the window and just being, but kind of looking at what's around and noticing. There's that quiet noticing that allows your head to come up with whatever thoughts it is, but also there is this element of daydreaming. Can you imagine me sitting there and staring out the window, and all of a sudden daydreams are coming through? And yes, I probably sat there and thought about, wow, this really sucks. What would it be like to not have this anymore? And letting my it's almost like my soul and my spirit wander into the, wouldn't it be nice if I could dot dot dot. And for me it would have been, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I didn't have to put on my work outfit and get in the car and drive to work and do that job that I did every day, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, sometimes later, again and again, and noticing that hamster wheel that I was on, and then getting to the place of, if I didn't have to do that, what would I want to do? And that little spark there is what I'm noticing, that pause, that time that cancer gave me because I couldn't do anything else, to just reconnect with me in my beingness and my daydream of heart's desires or possibilities. It's like, wow, I would not have considered that a gift, because instead I would think of, oh man, I'm so tired and I have no energy and I'm just a lump on a log. But really, having that, I'm going to say, magical moments, because I got to be about me and introspective about me. It's like, when do we give ourselves that kind of time
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
space?
So what's coming up for me as you say that too is like I can easily see how, especially initially, people on their cancer journey, their initial like mindset and their self-talk is a lot of like, this sucks, this is horrible, I hate it, I wish that, and my invitation, and I also feel like the key to coming out of that perspective is curiosity, which is exactly what you're describing is like, well, if I don't have to go back to my 9 to 5 plus, what could I do? What do I want to do? Like, yeah, this sucks, but now it's like, well, how do I want to fill my time? Because I get to. I don't have to do things that are strenuous and efforting, there is a whole spectrum of activities and just things to do that don't have to be going to work and having this whole responsibility that's heavy. And you can do things that don't have an end result. Like they don't have to have a purpose. They can, or like they don't have to have a completion kind of purpose. Like you can make a birdhouse and not care about birds, but it could be about building the birdhouse itself, you know? Like there are little things that you could do to just connect with you and even just discover like, do I like this? Do I not like this? Like who in this era really feels they have time to paint freely? You know, like for example, like I think there are so many other people who are like, oh, I wish I had time to, I wish I had time to. And like you said, really hard to say, especially in the cancer realm, but it's a luxury to have that time to just sit and be and explore that. Maybe you're going to let yourself do it and you're going to figure out you hate painting. That's fine too. And that's a discovery thing, but you get to try, you get to be curious, and you get to kind of figure out what you do and don't like. It doesn't even have to come to anything except for the decision that actually I like doing this. Um, an interesting point might be a little bit off topic, but I recently, I'm sure it was like a meme on Instagram or something, but it was like I could write all day long, but I wouldn't call myself a writer. Or I could write, you know, every day for weeks and weeks, and I wouldn't call myself a writer until I accomplish XYZ. But really, I'm a writer because I write. You know, like if I'm writing poetry, I'm a poet. I don't have to have someone else assign that label to me. I can say that that's what I want. And that's something that we get to then do when you're on a cancer journey and you have that time and space to. Because you finally get a chance to say, I love that thing. I can own and adopt that for myself. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing or saying or how they perceive me, really. It's what I want to do, and I get to discover that for myself. So it is quite a gift, and this is why we have this perspective with cancer. We do feel that is a call, um, and that there's so much more possibility there than maybe you initially think. I'm not saying that you skip that whole initial anger and frustration. I think that has its place, and I think that needs to be expressed as well. Maybe in your painting, that would be a great place to put it too. Um, but there's so much more to experience that um, I invite everyone to who's on a cancer journey, who's feeling in that kind of way, to try a gift session with us and see what it's like to even just be able to talk about it with someone who really gets it and knows how to hold space for those hard emotions too, so you can get to that more the more feeling of like freedom and expression.
Yes, yeah, I mean, there's so much that you said there. And so there's a couple I want to touch on. One is how we judge ourselves about sitting around. And I'm not talking about sitting in front of the TV, though I can judge that also. But we associate slowing down and not doing anything as wasteful or not purposeful, as you're not accomplishing anything. You're just like you're just wasting away. And it's like, wow, where did we get that? And then we judge it like, oh, if you're just sitting around, you're lazy and you're purposeless. And so you come on, you gotta get moving and do stuff. Again, that's that whole judgment. But what I'm realizing, and as we're talking about this, is that time and space to answer the question of what is it that I want, especially on a cancer journey, is very productive. And it's not just, oh, well, I want to make this go away. So let me go online and look at all the ways that things that I could do. How can I eat well? What do I do with my body? Do I need to exercise? Do I need to do certain things? The do may make you feel accomplished, but is it really answering the question of what you want? And so back to, me staring out the window, because that's what I can do in the moment, and allowing myself to be curious and to ponder and to even allow myself to dream and wish of what's the life that I want to have beyond this cancer. Not that I want the cancer to go away. Yes, of course you do. But for what? What do you get then? Do you go back on that road going really fast, trying to avoid potholes and sinkholes? Or do you chart a new course and say, what I really want is X, Y, and Z? And those X, Y, and Z's can be found in our values. So if you don't know what's really important to you, which is what your values are, absolutely ask for a gift session so you at least have that core stuff of this is what's really important to me. And if it's that important to you, then you should be living that, those experiences, that feeling, and bring that to what you do, because that's where you should be spending your time, not rushing down the road because you've got to get to that destination. I know there's that quote, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And I mean, being on a cancer journey really brings that out. You can bitch and moan down the journey, and all you get is bitching and moaning. But if you choose to see it in a different way, perspective, different perspective, you get to have that. It really is that simple, but figuring out what you want is not as simple as me just saying, what do you want?
Yeah. Yeah. What comes up for me too, and again, not to be morbid, but in the destination, inevitably for all of us is death. Like we're all that is the most inevitable destination. So on this journey of life, what choices are you making? Because if we know that that's the end destination overall, regardless of how much time we have when it happens, it's inevitable. How are we choosing to live? You don't have to live like you're just waiting for your impending death. You can live like, while I have the energy to do it now, while there are people here that I love and care about, like I'm going to do things that fill my soul and fill the souls of those around me and make this the best that I can. Or just find moments of joy. Like what there's no harm in being on your cancer journey, highs or lows of it, and experiencing joy. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to do. Um, is to recognize that that is a possibility. You're allowed to have both, as well as everything else in between. You're not just stuck in doom and gloom, and this means that my life is over. Your life has always been inevitably ending in this one way. How that happens, we don't know, but
Right.
everyone's life ends in that way. Um, so, regardless of how it happens, you get to choose in what way you really want to live fully. So that is my takeaway.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do my pesh. So physically, I am a 4.5 still. Emotionally, a 4.4. Spirit is a 4.2, and hope is a 4.2. And my word is weighted, but not in a negative, like heavy kind of way, like in a substantial way. So I guess my word's
Mhm.
substantial.
Okay. So my takeaway is that whew, we've said a lot, and I just had it and it kind of flew out of my head. So let's see what's here right now. My takeaway is that live life now. Doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter what it is as long as it's for you. And I know that feels selfish, but this is your life and you can do it with meaning and contribution. But what is it that really brings you alive? That is um, what all of this is about, bringing you back alive. So my pesh is physically 4.25, emotionally 4.4, spirit 4.6, hope 4.7. And my word is alive.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We'll be back next week with a new episode.
Have a lovely rest of your day. And remember, you're so much more powerful than you realize.